Hello and welcome to the Fantasyland Basketball Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mark Shorten. And big show this week. We're going back to the different tiers. Obviously, we've gone through point guards. We've gone through shooting guards. This week, we're going to look at the small forward positions and then obviously move on to power forwards and centers in the coming weeks. Thank you to everybody for listening and for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, if this is your first time, do hit the subscribe button and follow as we approach the season and as we enter the season. I'm going to look to do a little bit more targeted stuff as well as answering some questions, try and go live a couple of times and see how that goes. And also thank you to everybody for the feedback on the podcast last week with the guys from the Casual Fan Experience. There was a few questions. There was a couple of people unhappy about how low I had the likes of Luka and the likes of Giannis. I stand by my statement. I think that unless you're an absolute pro, unless you're a seasoned fantasy vet, I don't think starting off a fantasy season or a round one pick or an early round one pick with a player that's going to force you into a punt build, I think it's a mistake. I think that it really hurts. And if you don't know how to build it correctly, then you're just going to struggle all year and you're going to get frustrated. You're not going to work out how to fix it. So that's why I had them where I had them. If you are a seasoned vet and you like the pump build strategy, in one of my leagues, I'm actually going to try it this year just so that I can have a bit more of an educated say on it. But if you do like that sort of strategy, that's cool. Like each to their own. And I'm sure it has been really successful because if you are able to do it and you are able to do it well, then it's really tough to beat because where you're giving away or you're not concentrating on those areas, then you're really able to bolster other areas because obviously you're picking out players who no other people want because they don't want to get hit in that area. So pros and cons for both. The reasoning for me having both Luka and Giannis, I think I had them 7 and 8, which is fine. I know I'm probably not going to get them there in any leagues. The reason I had them so low down was because as a general rule, I think the other guys at the top there have a bit more of a rounded game and they don't hurt you anyway. So that's the main reason for that. So hopefully the tiering in this, in the small forward category here is able to kind of echo what I was saying with some of the players that I'm really high on. We may as well get cracking into it. So tier 1, I've got KD, I've got Jayson Tatum, and I've got Paul George. So it is, I probably should say that with the small forward category, probably similar to the point guards, you're going to get a lot of players that are shooting guard eligible as well as power forward eligible. Some people are going to have multiple areas like LeBron. I really want to focus on the guys who are going to play predominantly small forward. So there's going to be some later ones that I haven't included for that reason. But KD is a monster. I don't really need to go through KD's stats. I'm going to do it anyway, but he's a weapon. Last season, 27 points or just shy of 27 points, 7 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2.5 triples on terrific percentages. Like he's probably the best in the business when it comes to anchoring both percentages, nearly a block and a half and 0.7 steals. Yeah, look, he does turn it over 3.5 times a game, but any good player, you're going to get that. The thing about KD is, does he stay healthy? He's come off a monster campaign for the Nets. He played, I think, in their final playoff game where they lost to Milwaukee. I think he played every single minute, including overtime. And then he went into a big Olympic campaign as well. So the question is about KD is, does he get rested? He looks to have recovered really well from his Achilles injury, obviously. So that's the only doubt that I've got, but I still have him as a top 5 guy. I have him as a top 3 guy. And I think that you got to roll the dice with a talent like KD. The next 2, I think, are pretty interchangeable at the turn of the first round. So that 10 to 12 area, probably a little bit higher. You got Jayson Tatum and you've got Paul George. So Jayson Tatum, he similar sort of game to KD. So he has Boston have a similar game to the Nets. You could probably say as well. They have a lot of guys who like to play ISO ball, don't really pass it all that much unless they need to, or unless they're passing it down the court. And Jayson Tatum, he's strong on both percentages. He shot just under 3 triples a game, 7.5 boards, nearly 4.5 assists, 1.2 steals, 0.5 blocks, and 26 points a game. He is going to probably play more games than KD this year. But I mean, I think that he's a safe guy with a high ceiling, or a high floor and a high ceiling, as I said last week. The other one who I really like, he's coming off a down year, so you're going to get him at a discount, is Paul George. He is going to spend the majority, if not the entire season, without Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard pretty much was the guy there, and Paul George has proven that he can be the guy in the past. Whenever he was at OKC, I think he just finished second in the MVP race. Last year, he was off a down year where 3.2 triples, fine. 6.5 rebounds, fine. Those you're going to get those every single year from him. 67% from the field, 87% from the line, also good. You're going to get those every single year as well. What I really liked about him last year, which I think is going to carry on, is 5.2 assists per game. I think that is something that we're going to see moving into this campaign because, as I said, he is going to be the guy. The one that I think we are going to, or the two that I think we are going to see a lift on, is his points. He only put up 23.5 points per game just gone. I think we're going to see that tick over 25, closer to 26 points per game. And then the other one is steals. So traditionally, Paul George is a 2-steal type guy, or close enough to somebody who is going to really change your side and change your fantasy aspect. There's a lot of guys that are around that 1.1, 1.2, even lower, that 0.9 to 1.2 area is pretty much where most good players are. What separates those players from your top 5 guys, your top 10 guys in those areas, is obviously 1.8 and above. And Paul George is traditionally that sort of guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets closer to 2 per game in the upcoming season, which is why I've got him as a tier 1 small forward. Tier 2, I've got LeBron James and Jimmy Butler. I think that LeBron is going to have a good year. He's somebody who I see playing a lot of games still. He's not somebody who really sits unless there is an injury. I just think that he will play close to 30 minutes a night, and he will be running around at 70% capacity, not pushing himself too hard, doing what he needs to do, getting it done, because 70% LeBron is still better than 100% Melo or 100% Trevor Ariza or 100% Horton Tucker. So I think he's still going to play. I think he's probably going to do similar to what he did last year, maybe a little bit under. I think he's probably going to be a 52 and 70% shooter with, I reckon his threes will probably go up with Westbrook holding the rock a bit more. And he's going to be a 7 rebound, 6.5 assist sort of guy with mid-20 points. Steals and blocks probably won't happen. He kind of picks and chooses his moments there, and his turnovers will probably drop without the ball as much. But he's still, for me, he's a round 2 guy. I'll probably put him as a mid to late round 2 guy. The same as Jimmy Butler. Where Jimmy Butler is terrific is he is, as I said about Paul George, he's somebody who's going to get you those ridiculous steals. So he has, and he will always, until the end of his career, be a 2-steal guy, 2-steal a night sort of guy. Someone who can get you 5 on occasion. He's rarely going to show 2 games in a row where he doesn't get 1. So you can always bank on that. What you can always bank on as well is that he's not going to shoot any threes. So shoots really well from the field, 50%. Shoots incredible from the line, 87%. It's going to get you 7 rebounds. He's probably this year with Kyle Lowry coming into this into the side more, I think his assists are probably going to drop a bit. I think he's going to drop down to about 5.5, 6. But again, his steals are huge. He doesn't block the ball, and his points are going to be around about the 20. But I think that could also potentially drop to about 18. But both of those guys are tier 2 guys. If you're getting them on as your second pick, then you're in for a good year because they pretty much contribute across every single category. Yeah, LeBron is going to hurt you with free throws. So you've got to take that into account, similar to what I was saying about Giannis and Luka. Got to take that into account whenever you're drafting somebody like LeBron because he does really hurt you in that area. But Jimmy doesn't. So where obviously he doesn't hit threes, every single player who, I shouldn't say every single player, but most players in the NBA are going to hit triples. So there's guys later on that are just going to, like Duncan Robinson, for example. He's somebody who I've got down a couple of tiers, and if you need threes, just grab him late because that's pretty much all he does. I think 97% of his shots last year were a combination of assisted or triples. Doesn't create the ball for himself there. I'll get to him in a bit. But that's it for tier 2. Tier 3. I really did struggle with this one because there are players that I've got in this tier who I think could potentially finish the year as a tier 2 sort of player. But there is also ones here who I think could finish the year as a tier 4 sort of player. So I've got Michael Porter Jr., I've got Chris Middleton, I've got Jaylen Brown, I've got Brandon Ingram, I've got Anthony Edwards, and I've got Tobias Harris. So the ones who I was referring to that I think could take a step up this year, Michael Porter Jr., he is certainly one of them. This year, they're going to have no Jamal Murray for the majority of the year. He's coming into his 3rd, maybe 4th year in the NBA. He is going to, or he has proven that he can score from all areas of the court. 3 triples per game, 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, just under a steal, just under a block, 55% almost from the field. I think that's going to go up. A lot of that, maybe not his percentage, but I think his triples are going to go up. I think his points are going to go up. I think his assists are going to go up without Jamal Murray for the majority of the season. And they're going to bring Murray back slowly. So Michael Porter Jr. is somebody who I think, well, let me have a look at his current ADP on ESPN. His current ADP is just over 40. So in 12-man leagues, that what puts you at 1, 2, 3, 4th round value, early 4th. I think that's pretty good. I think he could definitely be a 3rd round guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished the year inside the 20s. He's a good basketballer, and he stats up really well. So he's somebody I think could take the next step up. Chris Middleton, I think he's pretty well slotted into this spot. He's going to consistently get you. He's just Mr. Consistent. 20 points, 5.5 assists, 6 rebounds, a couple of triples, good percentages. Doesn't really turn the ball over, and he's going to get you a steal. That's pretty much him every single week. I had him last year. I found him frustrating at times because he doesn't have too many monster games. He also doesn't have too many really dud games, which is frustrating because I like to see upside with my guys. Getting players who have got a very similar floor and ceiling don't really interest me too much, but that's okay. Middleton's a really safe pick. Who else we got here? We've got Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, I think, is going to have another really big year. Traditionally, I've steered clear of him because of his free throw percentage, 76%. He has made a bit of strides with that over the last couple of years. He has struggled a little bit with game time, but I should say staying on the court with injuries. So I'm not overly concerned about that. It doesn't seem to be too much of a serious issue. Just a couple of niggles here and there. I think he has come off surgery for his wrist though, non-shooting. So not too much of a concern either, but 25 points per game, 3.5 assists, 3 triples, decent from the field. As I said, 77%, 76% from the line. Where his value is going to come from is going to be steals. He's a really, really good 3-and-D guy. And I think that in this upcoming season, no Kemba, more responsibility on Jaylen. I think he is going to get it going both on the offensive end and on the defensive end. Brandon Ingram, he's another guy I've got here. So I should say Jaylen Brown is probably the other player that I can see taking the next step up into tier 3 and having a really good year, finishing inside the top 30 there. Brandon Ingram, again, he's not a player that I necessarily love. He is probably going to get a little bit of a tick up whenever it comes to his assist with Lonzo gone, but not too much. Yeah, I mean, he's fine. He's going to get you decent percentages, 2.5 triples, 5 and 5, a 1.5 in terms of stocks. So like 0.7 and 0.8 steals, blocks, and then early 20s and points. He's fine. He's not somebody that I'm actively targeting because, again, like Chris Middleton, I think he's going to have a very similar floor and ceiling. So not too excited or concerned there. Now, Tobias Harris, I think he's a bit boring. And I'll touch on these in a couple of different podcasts, but his current ADP is 68.9 on ESPN. I think that is so low. He is traditionally a weapon when it comes to both percentages, close to 90, close to 52%. He's going to get you close to 20 points per game. He's going to get you 7 rebounds. He's going to get you 3-4 assists. He's going to get you a steal. He's going to get you a block, and he's going to get you a triple. He is boring, but where you're going to get him at the 60 to 70 range, I think is just so good for value. He is somebody who definitely could finish inside the top 40. He's definitely somebody who I could see taking that next step up into a higher tier, finishing the year inside the top 25 or something along those lines. And finally, the last person I've got here is Anthony Edwards. I had him in tier 4. I lifted him to tier 3 because he's going to have a good year. He had a good second half of the year as well. Yeah, his percentages are going to hurt you, but he's going to score the ball really, really well. He is going to be an excitement machine. I draft players who are excitement machines. It's been a couple of weeks since my shooting guard won, so I've probably lifted him a little bit since then, but I think he's going to be a really, really important piece for Minnesota this year. He's going to be the number 2 guy. I'm not concerned about D'Angelo Russell in that position. So I think Anthony Edwards I think he's going to get about 60, 63 in current ADPs. And I mean, I really like that. I think that that's money for Jam there as well. A safe pick who's going to get a ton of usage. Just be mindful, obviously, of the field goal percentage. Tier 4. Tier 4, there's a lot of players in this tier that I probably won't be targeting, probably this one and the next one. But tier 4, I've got DeMar DeRozan, I've got Karis LeVert, I've got OG Anunoby, I've got Gordon Hayward, I've got Bogdan Bogdanovic, Andrew Wiggins, Jeremy Grant, Evan Fournier, I've got Norman Powell, Mikal Bridges, and Robert Covington. So, a lot of names there. Not going to touch on all of them. So, the ones that I do want to touch on is OG. OG is similar to what I was saying about a Jaylen Brown. He's a really, really good 3-and-D guy with decent percentages, not amazing percentages. He's going to get you 2.5 triples. He's going to get you 5.5 boards, and he's going to get you a couple of assists. He's going to get you close to 2 steals, though. Steals are just gold. Steals and blocks are absolutely gold whenever it comes to fantasy. You can chase pretty much anything else off the waivers. Maybe not assists, but you can chase pretty much threes, boards, points. You can chase all those off the waivers. You can't chase steals off the waivers as well, unless you want to get somebody who is just absolute trash. That's why I like OG. I think OG can take a next step up this year as well. We have so many concerns and we've heard so many rumors about Pascal Siakam, what's going to happen with him this year. That's why I think OG is going to have another, have a really good year as well. I probably don't need to harp on him too much. I just think you should be looking at him in the 50s, sort of an area. He's going in the early 60s at the moment, which again, I think is about a round too late. The other one in this area, so I'd proceed with caution whenever it comes to Gordon Hayward. They've got a bit of a stacked team now. Obviously, they've got Kelly Oubre. They've still got Bridges as well. So I'd be a little bit concerned there whenever it comes. And they've got PJ Washington. I'd be a little bit concerned whenever it comes to Hayward. He'll produce whenever he's out there. Obviously, there's a history of not being able to stay on the court. Same as Jeremy Grant. He had a good year, but not a great year. So watch out for him. He'll get drafted a bit early. Other ones that I do like here, I really like Evan Fournier. I don't trust Kemba is pretty much the reason why I like Fournier. It wouldn't surprise me if he finished the year with 5 assists per game. He's going to get you close to 20 points. He's going to get you a couple of triples, okay percentages, not going to tank or help you there. But the main one is I reckon he's going to get you 5 assists per game because the ball's going to be going through him a lot because they're going to manage Kemba. Tibbs likes to play his guys. I don't think that that's going to be the case with Kemba. Going against the grain, going against history, but he is, if they want to play finals and they want to make some noise in the playoffs, they need Kemba. So they're going to ease him through. There's going to be a lot of DMPs. There's going to be some restricted minutes, and Fournier will just soak that up. He's going to be a really good player. He's going to be a boring player because he's not the sexiest of names, but his current ADP is 119, which is just ridiculous. Again, he should be somebody that you should be targeting at the 50, 60 sort of area. And then the other one is Norman Powell. I've spoken about him probably on every single podcast up until this point, but he really has the opportunity in Portland to be a 20 points per game sort of guy with 2.5 triples and 1.5, nearly 2 steals. Maybe not 2 steals. 1.5 to 1.7 is what I'll say for Norman Powell. He's not going to get you much in terms of boards and assists. He's going to be fine from the field. He's going to be solid from the line. He just doesn't get there all that often. And he's just somebody that I'm really, really targeting. Again, an ADP of 119, which is obviously we're talking early ADP, so don't read too much into that. But yeah, he's somebody at the 50, 60 mark, I think is pretty safe money. Mikal Bridges, Robert Covington, yeah, they're guys that you want to get for the defensive side. And I don't really need to go through them too much. I think we know what we should be expecting with those guys. Tier 5, we've got Miles Bridges, we've got Sadiq Bey, we've got Darius Bazley, we've got Kyle Anderson, we've got Keldon Johnson, Malik Beasley, Jonathan Isaac, Kelly Oubre, Nick Batum, we've got DeAndre Hunter, Pat Williams, Kevin Huerter, Dylan Brooks, and Gary Trent Jr. Again, not going to run through all of these guys because there is just a lot of names there. The main ones that I do like, I think that Sadiq Bey's in for a really big year. Detroit are building a really nice team, and I could very well see myself having 3 or 4 guys off that roster, which I don't love doing just because it's fraught with danger. But I like Sadiq Bey. I think he's going to have a really good year, and I think he's going to have a lot of responsibility. If you're in an 8 category league, I really like Darius Bazley. I don't love him in 9 category leagues because for a big guy, he turns the ball over a lot. He's also going to get a fair bit of usage because they don't really have anybody at center. So I like him as well. Jonathan Isaac, proceed with caution. We know what he can do whenever he's out on the court. He's going to be an absolute weapon. And if he stays healthy, could win Defensive Player of the Year, but health is obviously an issue. Pat Williams, stacked team in Chicago. He did put up a lot more threes than what we saw last year and what we saw at Florida State. So I think he's going to have a nice year. Sorry, he put up a lot more threes in Summer League than he did previously. So I think he's going to have a nice year as well. But the two that I like here are probably the two most boring guys out of this tier. I like Kyle Anderson. He just does a bit of everything and he does it really well. Again, he's going to get you some steals. He's going to contribute across the board. And he's not a sexy sort of player. You're going to get him really, really late. And he's going to give you some mid-round upside. The other one is Nick Batum. Nick Batum came out of the gates really strong last year, surprised everybody, and tapered off a bit, had some good games. Again, he's not a sexy sort of player, but we don't have any Kawhi Leonard this year. So Nick Batum is definitely going to get more of a workload. He's going to start games. He's going to get minutes. And I think he's in for another really solid year across the board. So both guys, not super sexy, but they're going to contribute and they're going to be really reliable. So I really like those guys for late round picks with some really good tier 5 sort of value there. Tier 6, Buddy Hield, Joe Ingles, TJ Warren, Harrison Barnes, Thaddeus Young, RJ Barrett, Bojan Bogdanovic, Lou Dort, Matisse Thybulle, Danilo Gallinari, and Cam Reddish. Now, Buddy Hield's probably the one here that surprises everybody. I'm off Buddy. I think that Sacramento are going to ship him out, and if they ship him out, it's not going to be to a great situation for him. If he does stay, which he could start the year there. He is one of 4 solid guards there. De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell, and then himself. I kind of think that he's going to be 4th in that pecking order because he doesn't want to stay there long term. They're not really going to be winning games, so they might play him to start with just to remind everybody of what he can do. But realistically, everybody knows what he does. He's a threes guy. He's a points guy. He's going to get you a steal. So I don't really love him. That's why he's down at tier 6. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not going to draft him this year. It's almost like a bit of a rage from my side. He's just so infuriating. Just do more. I think players just need to do more if they're going to be on my side. I need them to do more than just shoot threes and score, which is a mistake I made last year. I think Joe Ingles is a safe one this year in this tier. He's not going to do a whole bunch, but he's going to be safe. Thad Young, he's in Sacramento. He's in San Antonio. He's going to get you some nice steals there. Who else have we got? Matisse Thybulle is probably the sexiest one in this. He had a really good Olympic campaign. He's so good on the defensive end. He's so long. He gets in such good positions. I kind of like taking a bit of a flyer on him, especially if Ben Simmons gets shipped out. He's not going to take on the Ben Simmons role and be the distributor, but minutes free up. So I really like him. And then the other one here is Cam Reddish. So Cam Reddish, if he stays on the court, he's a really good player. He's so talented. Atlanta, yeah, they are a deep team, but I think that he is their first choice shooting guard, small forward. So he is somebody that I really like this year as well with some upside. Again, it's just a health thing. And then tier 7, Duncan Robinson, Rui Hachimura, Kyle Kuzma, Denny Avdija, Carmelo Anthony, Scotty Barnes, Tim Hardaway Jr., Joe Harris, Jay Crowder, Josh Hart, and Cam Johnson. I think that's everybody. Yeah. I've got 3 Wizards in there purely because I don't know who's going to take up the mantle there of being the 2nd or 3rd scorer on that team. And even still, I don't think that they are going to be able to do much outside of scoring threes and boards. And because there is such an unknown there, I don't really have an interest in any of them. Duncan Robinson, as I've said, they're in a stacked team. Don't care. He's only a 3-and-D sort of guy. Not really interested. If there is a player here that I like, it's Scotty Barnes. So for those who don't know, Scotty Barnes is the 4th overall pick. He is in Toronto. Toronto obviously they've got a bit of rebuilding to do. Pascal Siakam, he is on the block. He will go eventually. They've got no reason to keep him and play him. I think he's like 27 or 28. So a team in their prime will probably jump at the chance to get him. And Scotty Barnes is somebody who he won't light it up, but he'll contribute across the board whenever it comes to fantasy. I think he went to the same school as Pat Williams, and Pat Williams also didn't have a terrific stat line in college, but that's just because of the way that their team plays. They run really deep, and they play quite a few people. So Scotty Barnes, he was the 4th overall pick for a reason. Probably went a little early, but I think that is because they are moving Pascal Siakam out. So I'm not saying you should draft Scotty Barnes. All I'm saying is that you should keep an eye on him, put him on your watch list, and as soon as the Siakam chats start, I'd pick him up. I'd even almost periodically, tentatively pick him up because I think that there's definitely some decent upside there. And then the other one is Cam Johnson. So Cam Johnson, his percentages aren't going to be great, but they need some more scoring on Phoenix outside of Booker. Ayton couldn't do it for a lot of the season last year. Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges are mainly there for their defense, and Chris Paul is getting older every single day, and Father Time will catch up with him, and they will manage him through that because they obviously want him for the postseason. So Cam Johnson, I think, is going to get some really nice opportunity for some scoring and a little bit of everything. He's probably going to get you a steal, maybe half a block. But again, really, really late sort of guy. So definitely somebody worth picking up or keeping on your watch list, depending on how deep your league is, obviously. That's kind of it. There is one name that obviously that I left out. That's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is great when he plays. There's just so much unknown about him, so I can't tell you to draft somebody like that because we just don't know when he's going to play. We don't know if he's going to play. Depending on how the Clippers are tracking and how they're trending, we might not see him throughout the entire year. If they're not going to be making any noise, then what's the point? He signed a 4-year contract, so he doesn't necessarily need to play for a contract. He doesn't need to prove himself. Everybody knows what he is able to do. So there is a really big chance that we don't see Kawhi Leonard all year. So, I mean, even at best, it's going to be the last couple of months. So we can probably cross him out more than anything else. If you've got a free IR spot and you want to take him until an update, fine. I don't really see a benefit or a negative in doing so. That's pretty much it. That is the tiers. As I said, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on the socials because I am going to be going through sleepers. I'm going to be dropping little sleepers and little boom bust guys throughout the coming weeks just to kind of get everybody prepared for their drafts. If you do have questions for me, you do have specific questions for me, absolutely ask the question. Also happy to answer any questions about dynasty ones as well. Any players that I like the look of, that'll probably come with some of the sleeps as well. But until next time, don't forget to rate and subscribe.